Hey friends, we're really getting into the crux today of what causes frozen shoulder. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, that really comes from a shortened and tight pec minor. So from here to here, from doing this or doing this all day long, or just generally keeping your arms bent. The bigger piece of this though, of like where is some of the tightness and the weakness other than from the chest, is coming from the shoulders and from the lats. So today we're gonna work on the lateral line. And what I find most often is that this gets really tight. It kind of pulls the shoulder into a certain position. That means that the rotator cuff, so the shoulder's ability to externally rotate, so that's not just my arm, but that's my actual shoulder blade being able to move on my back, gets compromised. And so then you kind of get these shoulders that are locked in the front and then locked in the back of the armpit, and the lat goes all the way from here down to here. It spans your entire back. That massive muscle gets stuck and locked. So we've got smaller muscles of the shoulder that are tight and weak, and then we've got this massive support in the back body that really would be worked in particular doing pull-ups, which is a thing that a lot of us, particularly women, don't do. So that's what we're gonna focus on this lateral line today, is how do we get that area loosened up, and then how do we get those muscles properly engaged? Okay, so I mentioned in the first episode, buying a cupping set, it's under $40, is I think the best bet when it comes to tissue loosening for frozen shoulder. So where you'd wanna get is, and it's just a simple pump action mechanism, you'd wanna go all along the upper trapezius, everything that was in that photo, going all along the side of the body, really in particular getting through this area, which can be a little tricky to do on your own, but it's possible. Another thing that you can do with that is use either coconut oil, jojoba oil, or some type of massage oil, and then cup by a couple pumps, and then drag along that area. The triceps in particular are gnarly. I'm gonna warn you, it's pretty intense, but highly worth it. You can do that dragging motion as well along the sides. I've already recorded several times on how to foam roll all these areas, and I have them all on a playlist, so I will include that here. One thing though that I do want to mention is a lot of people have been buying the Theraguns. I like Theraguns if one, you have a lot of muscle tone and you're really wanting to focus on your legs. I do not like a Theragun because it's kind of got that pummeling action for anything around the neck. It's just jarring for the neck and the head and the nerves that are up there. I think it can kind of do more harm than good. This is one that I like because it has a little bit of that pump action, but then the higher up you go, it turns into just a vibration. The other thing that I like about this in particular is it has this softer portion. So part of this line was the top of the foot and even going up into the side of the calf. You can do the top of the foot with this or go over bony, you could go over your knee. There's also another attachment that's more pointed, and you could actually dig into the side of the calf with that pointy portion really getting into the groove. So the combination of this, and I'll post a link to a cheaper version too, where you'd want to use the nipple attachment to get into the side of the calf, and this for that lateral line in particular, getting into the tricep. Again, you could do the tricep here as well, but the combination of those two for frozen shoulder is your best way to go in terms of the loosening portion. Now for the lats, you're just going to grab onto something and lean back. And then I'm wagging my tail. I'm going to crisscross arms. It is worth the investment to buy a pull-up bar and to just hang from a pull-up bar. And then I crisscross again. And then I'm going to go palms up. With this whole series, you could redo it again. I usually do it for 30 seconds a piece, like 30 seconds per hand grip. You can play with straightening the back leg and alternating the stance a little bit, and it'll give you a stretch that's different through the hip and maybe through the shoulder. And then last one, under grip, other hand on top. And then we're gonna play with stretching this lateral line in a doorway. So my inside leg's forward, I'm grabbing onto the inside of the frame and I'm leaning away. And I'm thinking about expanding my ribs like they're an accordion. So you're inhaling into the ribs. And I'm gonna pivot and pivot my chest to the doorway. You can play with bending your knees here too. And you'll just get a different stretch, hopefully kind of wrapping down your back. Inside leg forward. I even kind of like doing a back bend a little bit here too, because it'll get into the front of the hip and then twist the opposite direction for the back of the hip. Okay, now we're going to look at the actual lower half of this lateral line and getting stretched there. A couple of options for this. You could do the same idea in a pigeon pose. You could do pigeon on the edge of your couch like so. I'm going to choose to do it with a leg straight in case somebody has knee issues. I will say that I always see that there's a knee component on the same side typically as the side that somebody has frozen shoulder. So I'm just going to straighten. I'm going to hip hinge from here, so I always think of like the car dials. Woo. And I just corrected my foot because my foot naturally wants to do this, but if I try to bring it perpendicular to the floor, I'm going to immediately start to get a deeper stretch in my glute. So I'm forward folding here. For some of you, that may be enough. Ideally, you're going to try to twist, and then I even try to keep myself honest by pushing my foot like so, and just breathing there. What you may want to pay attention to is the side that you have frozen shoulder, do you have a tendency to buckle into that knee more? So if you catch yourself kind of, you can't see me, but like ever so slightly kind of just bending on that side or tipping. Another thing to pay attention to would be if you stand and you visualize like somebody's drawing a plumb bob, so just a string from the seam of your pants down in between your feet. Is one foot further away from your midline than not? And oftentimes the foot that is further away from the midline is the side where the shoulder compensates, and then that's another underpinning of frozen shoulder. Just like the shoulder's having to do the work that really the hip should be doing because you're out of alignment on that side. And the last thing that we didn't stretch that has to do with the lateral line are the calves. So posting a link to that I've recorded in a previous video. Okay, next things for orders of importance are the gluteus medius and the lat, that big muscle in the mid-back. So I like to hold on to something when I do this. You're probably not going to get very high. Watch that you don't twist. So I kind of put my hand on my hip. You might feel like you've hit a pretty hard wall. The other thing is that you almost want to feel like you're swooping down and away to activate, and ideally you're feeling it in this love handle area, but you might just be feeling it on the outside of the leg. Then we're going to go for the lat. So I like doing a single hand wrap. Your arm is going to turn in. I immediately wanted to twist, so watch yourself. I see that a lot in people too. And it's not a big motion, but you're pulling inward. Eventually our goal here is to be able to do a full pull-up so that you're getting that eccentric load and the concentric load, so getting a stretch phase and an activation phase. You can even kind of pull and hold. Note that my wrist is aligned, so I'm not breaking, I'm not bending, so I have what I call, if I was wearing a watch, I have a flat watch face on the wrist. And I'll do that from the other side. So I'm swooping down and away. I'm not hiking up my hip to lift it. For some of you, this may be a really small motion, and then also try to pay attention if you feel like the shoulder wants to pop up to help you. Try to keep it relaxed. Turn in, nice straight and strong wrist. Pull into my side. Same thing here, I'm thinking kind of pull down to pull in. Not so much that I'm crunching my body down, but there's kind of like a swoop down to pull inwards. All right, folks, so I just mentioned that triceps, there's 3. This is my trifecta of triceps, even though I think it's more than a trifecta. Feel free to start to add weights, but probably in the beginning you don't need to because it's a lot of repetitions. I'm going to do 3. So we're going to kind of play with a similar idea here like we did with the hamstrings. Again, I kind of keep this for integrity, so I'm kind of trying to anchor my arm bone back in the shoulder socket. And I'm karate chopping for 3. Then I'm going to do my different hand positions. And then I take that at an angle, and now I'm thinking about that outer head of the tricep. And you may find that once you get to your side, that is a bit more of a challenge. Keeping the alignment of this is really hard. Okay, so if I do this on this side, anchor, and then I kick out. And this one is always tricky, so I really have to push it back on this one for me. Okay, and as if that wasn't enough, we're going to do the same idea, but arm across the chest. Thank you for watching the lateral line and how that lateral fascial line plays into frozen shoulder. Your triceps may talk to you if you did that series with me. And next we're going to get into the emotional aspects of frozen shoulder and how it plays into the breath. Thanks.